Dad Pod.
Just a video thing as well.
Have a name.
Podcast.
Midlife crisis.
Paddy Daddy.
Midlife crisis.
Dadcast.
That's not bad, actually, yeah.
Dadcast, Misadventures in Parenting. Brought to you by Cadbury Freddo Treasures. Discover the new Freddo Treasure Space Series with Cadbury Dairy Milk Buttons, one surprise toy in every chest. And you're very welcome along to this week's edition of Dadcast. All the dads are here. Nathan is here.
Hello.
Adrian is here.
Hey,
And Dave is here. How are you all?
Good day, gentlemen.
knackered.
Oh, yeah? From parenting?
Sleepless, a lot of sleeplessness this week, yeah.
I've kind of forgotten what that's like. That's
Horrible.
what's causing it.
It's a bit easier. It's the worst part of it is the nighttime, I think. The worst part of it is the thoughts of, oh, Jesus, like the hours ticking by and I'm not getting any sleep and I'm going to be like a zombie tomorrow. It's not actually as bad when you wake up. I'm saying that like we're recording this at 10 o'clock in the morning and by 11:30 I'll probably be asleep, but
What's the reason?
what is the reason? Nothing really. Bit of hard to get into a routine, probably part of it. Unusually, it was the younger one that was awake last night. I was bringing her to bed at like 8 o'clock, and it was pretty obvious pretty quickly that she wasn't going to sleep. And then so you're lying there kind of going. I brought her into our bed, and you're trying to wait her out. So you're like, is she showing any signs that she might, in fact, because it follows that thing of like mad energy and mad activity, and then like over a very prolonged period of time, last night, hours, it gets slower and slower and slower. And so you're trying to say, oh, should we just bring her downstairs and maybe she'll just tire herself out that way, which is 100% what we should have done at the start last night. But then you're so far deep into it, you just keep at it. And then there was that. So she was like, God knows what hour, gone to sleep last night. And then the other lad just... We spoke about this months and months and months and months ago about him coming into our room, and I was sort of saying, well, it's no problem, it's not keeping anybody awake, he's just comes in, he goes to sleep, we're asleep, everything's fine. That's now not the case any longer. He's just causing absolute stink when he comes in, and it's a disaster.
You know the story of Oedipus, right? He kills the father. That's like, that doesn't end well.
I think there could be a killing. Somebody's going to die.
Yeah, well, in his mind, like, he doesn't realize all the other things, all the other aspects of your life that he's also killing at the moment.
Listen, he says, so we try to take turns, obviously, with entertaining or getting up, but like primarily trying to get him back to sleep, obviously, because he's coming in at, could be any hour, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then my wife will go, oh, your dad will go downstairs with you now. And he's not that patient, so he'll be very quickly roaring into my wife's face, he's not getting up. He's not moving. Which is generally.
So what happens when you go downstairs then at 2 a.m.?
Normally don't go down to 2 a.m. Normally always sit it out, Dave. So just not biting the bullet at that point. Like if we have to sit here for an hour, whatever it is, not going downstairs with you at that hour. It's not happening. But but you could also be awake for an hour. Or you could be awake for 2 hours, whatever. And
you're not just bring him back to bed and say, shut the fuck up.
Shit.
No, that is him in bed.
In his own bed.
Oh, yeah. The difficulty is sometimes, yeah. And sometimes you have to go into his bed with him. But the difficulty is if you bring him back in there, he's in with his sister. And if he's causing stink in there, really he's going to wake her up. And that is the last thing we want.
And sleeping babies, will they not sleep through like quite a lot?
To be fair, normally very good. Very, very, very rare instances of being woken up in the middle of the night. But we'd be so allergic to the idea of, like, if it all kicked off. I
know. If it all kicks off,
I think I've had to hit for the front door, like.
Yeah. I just think that we certainly lived with bad sleep on our first child for a long time, and eventually realize you can't do it. You just can't do it. You can't function. And if they're coming into your bed, I know there's loads of parents who co-sleep, right? And it's a thing, and people feel much closer, and like, it must be amazing. But like, that's your bed. That's like, that's your territory.
Oh yeah.
And
he doesn't. He lies sideways. So and his feet are always in my head.
Oh no!
No.
Yeah.
God.
No.
And like regularly, like I'm waking up going, I wonder, will I have to ring the ambulance now, or will I just wait for it to see? Like you get a full on heel straight into the jaw regularly. Like I lie in bed like this.
I mean, this is not good.
How
Honestly, it's only now that we're talking about it.
Yeah, but the kids in the same room makes it difficult because we have had a bad week, and the youngest she's generally not waking up too much in the middle of the night, but it's when it is now, it's you walk in, put her back down, and if she screams for the next hour, she screams for the next hour. But I am not going back in because we did the whole, let's bring her in and try and soothe her a bit, maybe even give her a bottle a bit early. But no matter what happened, she was awake for 3 hours then. Whereas this way, eventually, even after, it might take an hour, but she'll cry herself back to sleep.
And you'll be asleep for most of the day.
Well, you're half asleep, but like the alternative is,
Yeah.
and you just hope she eventually cops the hell on. Though we did have another issue where, so the one night she woke up at 6 o'clock this morning. Are you allowed to complain about your child waking at 6?
Don't know. I think that's just into excessive surgery.
You see, for me, anytime before 7, I'm getting annoyed. But so
there's a lot of people, Nathan. A lot of people in this country that are getting up at 6 to go to work anyway. We're not all lying on at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, but I didn't get home from work till 11 last night. So she's not taking this into account, obviously. So that's why I'm annoyed.
But your wife is obviously, and then you have she's like, oh, you stay there, don't worry, I'll sort it.
Yeah, as you can imagine, yeah. So the one night I think she did sleep actually till about 7:30. One of the lads woke up at 3 in the morning having a bad dream. So, anyways, eventually he wouldn't go back to sleep, so brought him into the spare room, and I went into the bed beside him. It was all grand. Went back to sleep. So, what was the issue? My wife had bought a book that day, How to Deal with Your Worries, and this was the bedtime reading. And according to the child, he then started thinking about his worries, and he couldn't stop thinking about them. And his biggest worry was that somebody was going to break into the house.
Oh, wow.
A bad man was going to break into the house in the middle of the night, and he couldn't stop thinking about it. Hadn't thought about it previously when he'd be going to bed, but all of a sudden, we had opened the door, and it had all come flooding out.
And at what point did you then decide to point out to your wife that she was incredibly foolish in doing this, or did you keep those thoughts to yourself?
He's telling us
what
now.
Do you think, Dave? Yeah. One of the lads on our social media team will put it up, and she'll soon find out about it.
Well, I sent her a text.
Yeah. So you can be too open with your children, it turns out.
This is definitely true. We ordered a book about puberty, and it arrived, and I was reading through it, and I was like, I'm just not sure that we're ready to talk to our 8-year-old about all this stuff. I mean, obviously we have to, and we will. It's just the book is for 9 to 16-year-olds, and she's 9 next week. And so you're like, the stuff that is in the book for the 16-year-olds is a little bit advanced. She's an amazing reader, so she'll read the whole thing probably in one sitting, and then at the end of it be like totally traumatized, like, because she's still at this point still clinging on to the last bit of being an absolutely innocent abroad child, and you don't want to going about life a little bit later an innocent abroad and not streetwise, but at the same time you don't want to be the thing that accelerates the end of this. So like, it's a really, how much do you tell your kids? Black Lives Matters came up. We were watching the Serena Williams match, and you just like, how do you explain the history of racism in a way that your 5-year-old's also sitting there watching you, like, okay. I mean, obviously you have to talk about these things and explain it, but like, it would be handy if there was like a little guidebook that you could, okay, Google, tell me, how do I explain Black Lives Matters to my 9-year-old in a way that's going to make sense? Maybe there's an opening.
A bizarre concept to like a 5 or 6-year-old, racism.
Oh, what?
Why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, it is. So, I mean, obviously the conversation didn't last very long. She's like, okay, I'm bored now.
You've got it to that 10-second window to get your explanation there, Jared.
I mean,
otherwise the window closes and he is or she is gone.
Yeah. A lot of people stole other people and traded them. It sounds, anyway, that was pretty difficult. Today is the first day that I'm going to be free to go back out into the wild. The kids are at school because we went through the whole COVID testing. My kids have asthma, as I talked about on the show before. So they're going to cough. They cough every time they go back to school. They get a cough, and sometimes it's really bad, and they need steroids and antibiotics. Hasn't reached that point just yet. But with the new cough, you have to ring the GP and or whoever, and they refer you for the test. So you had to go through that whole process. A bit of a shambles, I would say. Definitely a bit of a shambles. On Sunday, we decided that we were going to make a phone call, and it was the out-of-hours doc, DDoc. And I think I've had 3 appointments from DDoc for one of my kids and none for the other one yet. So we would still be waiting. And nothing came through for the first 24 hours. So then eventually we rang the local GP. Half an hour later, we had our appointment. And that was like our local GP, absolutely great, but clearly know what they're doing. Just the out-of-hours stuff. So if you are in any way wondering whether or not you should phone your local GP, and more than once if you have to, they're very helpful. So I would do that. And the other thing is 2 kids got tested at the same time. One of them got a negative test, texted to us at like 12 minutes past midnight. And I'm still waiting for the text about the second child. So I had to go on the HSE website and find what do you do when there's no response. And they're like, oh, wait 24 hours. I was like, fuck that, I'm not waiting 24 hours. So I emailed them and then got a phone call from somebody in Cork 2 hours later to say, oh yeah, she's clear as well. Basically, we lost, I'd say, 2.5 days through just not a good system. And you can't check anything. You can't check where you are in the system, like how far away am I from an appointment, and how far is my test away from being from coming back.
And so everything was halted. School, you weren't able to go into work. Your wife wasn't able to go into work.
The whole house has to isolate.
Lockdown.
You have to assume you have it.
And so does that literally mean not leaving your house and having people deliver food to the house?
Yeah, like we were grand. We obviously had done a big shop. Like, I mean, you can bring the kids for a drive at various stages during the week. You had to go out for a drive. Like, it's the same as
It was lockdown again.
Yeah, and it's a pain in the hole. It is an absolute pain in the hole. Then the worst part was obviously the actual test itself for the kids is the same as the test for grown-ups. And again, I made a critical error when we went in. Whoever was doing the test, I don't know if she's a nurse or whatever, but took the eldest first and made the middle child. So our 8-year-old and our 5-year-old went in together. I was with them, and the 5-year-old watched the 8-year-old get it done.
Oh no!
I don't know if you've seen like when you get it done yourself, you don't actually look at it. You know, you're not fucking stupid. You're like, I'm not going to look. I'm not going to see. I don't want to see these instruments. It's like the snip. You don't really want to see the thing that zap your balls. But it's the actual thing that goes in is about that long. You know?
Yeah, jeez. I thought for kids they just did the mouth swab.
Well, the 4-year-old got the mouth swab and they tried to do the nose, but he was like, no, and then so she didn't. But the other thing was, because it was so big, she kind of jerked her head away while I was like holding it, and so now it is actually sore still 2 days later there were a lot of tears.
How long is the swab up there for? 10
seconds.
Oh.
Backwards count from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's fine, you know, it's a little bit tickly as an adult. It's quite unpleasant. But if you saw it first, like it touching your brain in your head, it's like, and if your head is only about that size in the first place, it's like,
because it's the same. They're putting the same length of instrument up your 8-year-old's nose as they would put up your nose.
Up or above my 5-year-old's nose, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
No, but not to say it doesn't go up the same depth, obviously.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
it could be. It might go up your nose. Like, let's say the whole thing is that size. It might go up your nose that far. But
I don't know. It got right up there. It certainly.
Nathan just rejoined the conversation. What are they talking about?
I've had one.
But
how do they not have a different length of instrument for children?
Look. Maybe they do. I mean, it didn't look like it. It looked the same. So that was a relatively, I would say, pretty traumatic week.
So can I ask you, if the symptoms that your children were displaying that triggered you making the call to order a test represent themselves, what do? Are you going to go through the same rigmarole every time what you believe to be a little bit of asthma comes
Well,
across?
so our GP will make that call. And now that they've been through this and tested, like this cough hopefully stays with them now. It is not a new cough. So it's only if they get a new cough that you'd have to present. And like we'll definitely have a conversation with the GP. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that like ultimately, if they do get a new cough in 6 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time, then like we're fucked. This is what our winter is going to be like, you know?
I think there was 6 or 7 kids missing this week from one of my kids' classes, which is good in a way because it means parents are keeping their kids at home when they're not feeling well.
Yeah.
Will that slip away after a while? We're in the same boat where there's cough here. It's 100% a cold, but
are you going to test?
no, he's like no. Are you silently judging?
Why?
How come, Adrian? That's an interesting decision. Is it?
I mean, I do. Maybe now that you say it, maybe we should. But it's like, I don't know. It just feels like it's a bit of a head cold. Is that what coronavirus is? It doesn't feel like it's what the expectancy of coronavirus symptoms.
Well, is there like a runny nose and sneezing?
No, runny nose and a cough.
The cough is a thing. So that is on the list. If it's a new cough, it's on the list. Look, again, this is what we're recording this on a Friday. If you're going to do anything, don't wait till the weekend. Like you'd get tested tomorrow if your GP is not, and you could say don't do the nasal thing and actually be back by Sunday.
Yeah, it's
free as well.
Well, you just go into the GP, do you? Because we are looking to get an appointment anyway. Because I actually think that you were mentioning about asthma, cough and an asthma earlier on, and I think he has asthma because he's had a cough for a long time, like very subtle, irregular cough that just crops up, and a bit of wheezing every now and then. So I think he might have a bit of asthma that we were looking to get checked out. Anyways, can I kill two birds with one stone here? Is what I'm asking.
I would say that if you tell the doctor that your child has a cough, they'll tell you to go and get the child tested before you bring the child into the GP surgery.
Yeah. But here's the thing, the system works really well if your GP office is on the ball. They will get you an appointment potentially today. And
I went to Luke Doc, is the one in South Dublin? And I had an appointment within 24 hours and results within 24 hours after that. But that's just the South side things work.
South Dublin for you, Nathan.
Oh.
When you're the chairman of the PTA, that's...
I'm a very important man. I'm on the...
Got a lot of sway.
PTA.
Got to get back, you know?
All right, a reminder, Dadcast, the misadventure of parenting is brought to you by Cadbury Freddo Treasures. Discover the new Freddo Treasures, the Space Series, with Cadbury Dairy Milk buttons and one surprise toy in every chest. This product is treat-wise at only 76 calories, of course. They also have the white Freddo Treasures, which is white Cadbury Dairy Milk buttons and one surprise toy in every chest. And again, that's only 77 calories. I want to read you this that came our way. Dadcast@offtheball.com is the email address. Lads, I've set up this email address to protect my identity, as the fact I grew up with one of you and would still be an acquaintance means I need to hide behind this fake email address in order to deliver the following views. Which of us do you think has a mate that is sending us an email called patronizing parental advice? Which one of you or me has a dickhead friend who wants to be a dickhead to us over the airwaves?
Oh, I mean, I could think of at least 25 possible people from my end alone.
I could think of loads, but none of them, I think most of them would put their name on it.
Yeah, I can't imagine any of them would actually patronize about parenting.
I listen to your show regularly and find it really entertaining. Good man. I'm particularly glad you had the doctor on talking about the snip the week after you had a 20-minute email on the snip. Maybe now we can stop talking about the snip. I actually
wrote this email.
I find it refreshing to hear others having similar parenting issues to myself. Sometimes I take a nugget away. A real light bulb moment was when Dave was talking about the red mist during lockdown. I realized I had been completely losing my mind with the children for the most trifling of instances, and I started just taking control by not completely losing my mind. Thanks, Dave. So it's not
someone spoke to me about that same episode only yesterday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah, for an acquaintance, Dave, that you might have grown up with.
Actually, the sister of a old school friend of mine who I had not seen, I'd say, in 20 years. And she said, I know you probably don't have many female listeners, but I am one of them.
We do. We've got loads of
Do we know
listeners.
the email is definitely from a man, by the way? Is that?
Yeah, definitely. Pint Man Paddy Losty is how he signed it. However, it goes on. I was listening to the piece about going out for meals. A lot of chat about distraction, and particularly arriving at the restaurant with a big bag of toys and fully charged blue light emitting screens. Sorry, Dave, but I did praise you above. I strongly disagree with this course of action. Let me explain. Think about the fundamentals of what's going on. Do you want to spend the next X years not going out for nice, enjoyable meals because you have kids? Presumably, like the rest of our generation, eating out was one of the nice things you did before you had kids, and one of the nice things you do whenever someone else is minding your kids. It doesn't make sense that the other 340 days of the year you don't do this, or you do it under a cloud of stress. That's in bold. Take back control. You set the agenda, not your kids. Eating together is really important for a family and can be a really enjoyable experience if everybody has the right attitude. This starts at home. More of that below. How do you do it? Go to restaurants that serve items other than nuggets and chips to kids. That might sound really obnoxious, but it's not. Some restaurants just put more effort into kids than others. Find something they like. That's the key. My 5-year-old tried some of my mussels and white wine sauce once a few years on, and we regularly go to seafood restaurants with the promise of mussels for her. A good pizza place. Milano is great for kids. Chicken wings are a big hit. Calamari, fajitas. Anyway, you get the picture. Then explain to them that you work really hard. Because everyone is tired and deserves a treat, you're bringing them to the restaurant. Explain to them that it costs a lot of money, and they're lucky to go, and for the hour, they have to sit in their seats, use inside voices, and eat their food. You can use a bribe here for treats or screen time or something later. Line it up from a few days out, keep talking about it, and tell them that whatever behavior you expect from them, and why, it's actually an activity they should really be excited about being allowed to do. Then hard line in the restaurant. Any misdemeanors and out to the car for 20 minutes. After a couple of times, they won't take you on anymore because sitting in the car is infinitely worse than sitting in a nice restaurant drinking juice, albeit not being allowed to run around and shouting as they would like. Nathan, you're next.
How much more of this bullshit is there?
Yeah. This person is a prick.
Oh, we should build up like a profile there, shouldn't we? Like, they like to go to seafood restaurants,
Milanos,
stuff up on the wall somewhere.
Nathan, you're next. You said we'd all like to sit down to hot porridge every morning and talk about the plans and dreams for the day, but that's not reality. Actually, it can be reality. It's my reality. That's exactly what we do in our house every morning. We have loads of seeds, nuts, fruit, honey, nut butter, sugary cereal, etc. for toppings, which elevates the meal both in flavor and in ritual. Sit down, eat your porridge. No toys, no screens. We don't always talk about our hopes and dreams, but we do talk.
Sorry.
No, let me finish.
Piss off. Who has screens? Do any of you have screens in the morning?
No. Saturday and
chance.
Sundays.
Yeah.
Monday
no
to Friday,
chance.
they're outlawed.
Not in the mornings. No screens in the mornings. Sorry. It takes a long time, I won't deny, and definitely pushes us further into panic around getting out of the house. But it helps bed down really good behavior around meals. May I leave the table, etc. Breakfast is your best shot at this because they're generally starving. As I said, it takes at least an extra 15, 20 minutes between prep and sitting down. But in the context of the day, that's not much. Get up early. Get that porridge on the boil. It goes without saying I make amazing porridge. So if you're struggling with the consistency, let me know. Maybe I'm a little obnoxious after all. I like this guy.
There's no maybe about it, buddy.
Last bit. The only other area here where I think my approach is better than a lot of my peers, sounds obnoxious, but it's not, just a point of view, is no screens in the car, especially on long journeys. You know it makes sense. They just get irate, start fighting, frustrated. Bring them a magazine. When you hit the motorway, break out the picnic. After another while, give them an hour of an audiobook. You can turn it down in the front and conduct adult conversation, although Helena Bonham Carter reading Matilda is one I turned up in the front. Okay. 3 games of the Minister's Cat later, and you're in Mayo.
Ooh.
Now you know which of you has obnoxious friends. Is it a surprise? Again, insert smiley face here. Honestly, great work in the show. Thanks, Pint Man Paddy Losty. Adrian, your kids are very young. There is a point at which restaurants are indeed, as you alluded to, more trouble than they're worth. I'm talking about age 3, 4 upwards in my thesis above. And then the last one is, question for the show, what's the correct age to let your kids walk the 500 meters to school with other older kids that live on the road? I've obviously nailed mealtime, but the impending independence of my eldest terrifies me, and I have absolutely no idea how to handle it.
Wow.
There's so much to unpack there.
You called one of your mates a prick there, Nathan.
I honestly cannot think. I think that's been put in as a sort of decoy.
I'd go out of that.
Firstly, very few of my mates have kids.
So you
Well,
should
he said that he grew up with one of us.
An acquaintance.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Okay.
it's not
Still an
someone you're
acquaintance.
meeting every weekend for a pint.
Right.
Firstly, I think we should express our gratitude to this guy for taking the time,
Yeah.
A, to listen to the show, and B, to put together what he perceives to be some constructive criticism, as well as plenty of positivity. And for that, we thank you. And if all of our listeners to the Dadcast were as engaged and interactive as this person, that it really would improve the show overall. On the other hand, there's
his comment.
But
there's at least 74.87% of that email that is.
Well, I just don't understand a lot of. They seem to be criticisms of us, of things like, and there are many things I'm sure you can criticize all of us about our parenting, but none of these. So my kids don't have screens in the back of a car, even if we are going to Mayo, which I haven't done in a long, long time.
you're allowed now, aren't you?
Yeah, but I just.
My
I
kids
haven't.
absolutely
It
get
certainly won't be now.
screens in the back of the car.
We would put screens in the back of the car on long journeys. And actually,
Well, for example, here's one example now, and we are obviously our learned friend is not a participant in this conversation, so I can't actually ask him. But I would bring up, my folks are from Cavan, I would bring the lads up to the farm maybe once every couple of months. And by the time we leave at about 5 o'clock, the younger guy is wrecked. Now, he is likely to fall asleep by the time we get to the top of the lane and spend the next hour and 30 minutes fast asleep, which means that by the time we get home and they have something to eat and maybe get to watch an episode of Horrid Henry or whatever the hell you want them to watch, there's absolutely no chance he's going to bed.
yeah.
I give him an iPad. He gets to watch a movie on the way back to Dublin. The other lad gets to watch a movie. The two of them stay awake. We have our dinner. Everyone goes to bed. Everyone sleeps well. I am not accepting any criticism from anybody for my decision to allow him watch an iPad for 90 minutes on the drive home from Cavan.
No, I think screens in back of cars. We try and save it for the second half of the journey because obviously they'll just end up completely goggle-boxed by the time so we got it Donegal. It's 3 hours non-stop if you don't stop, or 3.5 hours if you don't stop, and it can sometimes turn into a 4.5, 5 hour epic if we do stop. And, I would be behind it. I do think though that we'd like restaurants not worth the hassle. I definitely remember saying that in the last couple of episodes. We had some recent experience where they just decided, fuck it, we're going to run around the place here today and have the crack. It's going to stand in front of that person who's holding that tray of hot food and molten liquids. See what happens.
Why not do with this acquaintance of mine who I still am racking my brain to think who this could possibly.
Well, why do you think it's you?
Or is it Mayo?
Well, unless it was a.
I think it's
don't
almost
think
certainly
that.
it's almost certainly Nathan.
Oh, it's 100% Nathan. That's like, yeah.
Well, if you're using the
Contact
Mayo,
me then, please.
the Mayo element of it, I think that's a reach. I don't think that really gives the game away.
Oh no, totally. So no, three games of the Minister's Cat later, and you're in Mayo, and then in brackets. Now you know which of you has obnoxious friends. Is it a surprise?
Oh, sorry, I missed that line.
No,
It's
it's not.
definite-
By the way, that's
It's a definite giveaway. So, who is it, Nathan?
No idea. I'm trying to think.
anyway.
Anyway,
Dropping into WhatsApp if you know any of your mates that have recommendations
but
for restaurants.
what I'm wondering is, like, so you have this conversation. Like, we've all had the conversation with our kids where we tell them how hard we have to work for them to enjoy this wonderful life we've given them.
Yeah, and then you can see your words
And
go
they
away in one ear and out the
Stare
other.
straight through you and like,
Yeah.
Can I have some of that money, please?
Yeah. Blah
Bring
blah
me
blah
to
blah
Smiths.
blah.
Oh, you've got loads of money. You
Yeah.
work hard and you've loads of money now. Bring me to Smiths.
Yeah.
Or they spend the week talking about what's happening on the Saturday. Like, I sometimes do that. Soccer Academy is back tomorrow, and I've been chatting to my eldest about, do you want to go? And I think I broached the subject first on Tuesday. My wife correctly said, what are you doing? What is the point of having this conversation on a Tuesday for something that's going to happen on a Saturday? You're just wasting your breath. And she's absolutely right. If I start building up to a visit to a restaurant on Saturday and start talking about it on a Monday or Tuesday, almost certainly they just will not listen to me. And then secondly, if in the unlikely event they are listening to me, will end up building this thing up to be such a big mystery even walking into the restaurant, particularly if I do not have a bag of toys and an iPad. Anyone care to respond either negatively or positively to that?
You broke up a little bit in the middle.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, my point being, I'm not going to spend 4 or 5 days
I know it
building
seems
up
like,
to a visit to a restaurant.
It seems like certainly the level of build-up adds to the amount of stress and people getting super excited about something as opposed to it having time to. I definitely now am of the view that we're going to surprise people on the day of things with something that is actually happening, because otherwise it's just like, it's like Nathan's story about the book. Think of all the things you could be scared about. It's like, oh, look at all these things I could be excited about. How excited can I get? Shake, 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 shake.
I'm just thinking, the reference to the Paddy Losty. So Paddy Losty is that sort of
Pint man.
Yes, that it's like a meme, isn't it? This
I do go drinking, and I don't drink that much.
and
but
like
when I
I'm
do, I
thinking,
go
like
wild
one of my
drinking.
best mates definitely might have that as his sort of WhatsApp avatar or something. But he has only one kid, so if it is him, come back to me when you have a couple more.
Yeah.
And his kid is about a year old, 18 months old. Like it's not the
Generally-
same thing.
I don't know how good you guys are in terms of meal times on a daily basis and everyone sitting down having their dinner. We're not good with it at all. A lot of it is to do with the way we work, because when I do work, it's at night, and so I'm gone from 4:30 in the afternoon, and that happens a lot. But how long typically would the duration of the family dinner be, say, of a general weekday evening? So I would have thought no more than 35, 40 minutes max.
Oh,
30,
max
30,
now.
30 minutes max.
Okay, at the absolute extreme end of it, average whenever we would sit down for dinner, and it's usually they're eating and I'm just sitting with them, maybe drinking a cup of coffee, you're talking between 10 and 20. That's all it takes for them to eat, and then they're looking at you going, why are we still sitting here? And yet this person's talking about a visit to a restaurant, which is a 90-minute thing.
Yeah. Well,
and no screens or toys.
An hour. We get it in an hour because it's like there's no starters. It's purely functional. The issue with dinner time is how much of the food that you have cooked will they eat, and that is a lottery. Like we could have the same meal 2 nights in a row, and first night our youngest will eat everything and go, oh, this is amazing. Second night he'll come in and go, I'm not eating that, and just announce, I'm not eating that. You literally just ate the whole thing last night. No, I didn't. You did. This is exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing as you had last night. And you ate all of it. You're fucking eating it. I mean, I'm only mildly exaggerating that last part.
Sorry, just to go off on a tangent, and I'll come back to this in a second. I'm currently facing a real issue with modern technology and parenting, which is I'm currently minding my 2-year-old. So I've done the obviously good parenting thing. Apologies to my acquaintance / friend for doing this, but I've stuck her in front of Netflix. But Netflix stops every 15 minutes and goes, are you sure you still want to watch this? Really? And she doesn't know how to hit the button.
It's not 15 minutes. It's a lot longer than that.
No, how long ago did I jump out last? It's only about 15 minutes. Now she's going to apeshit again. The other problem is she's scared shitless.
I just keep, she's going to have shit again, but I just keep talking.
I can hear her there in the background.
I know the scream is that your man, Mr. Potato Head, has come on Peppa, and she's frightened of Mr. Potato Head. So I better go and rescue the situation.
Okay.
This is good.
Oh, we should have heard that. He shouldn't have muted. Can I unmute him? Does anybody know? Can
I don't think you can do it once he's triggered it himself.
Let me see there if I can.
I made, I don't know if anyone seen the Irish Times during the week. There was an article about, I think it was a guy whose dad had died, but it was a long-winded way of telling him that his dad had taught him something about cooking. And there was a recipe for a chicken spaghetti bake, crispy bake, and the picture in it looked absolutely unbelievably tasty. So I said, I'm going to try and make this. Now, because it was the first time I was making it yesterday, it took me like 2 hours. It really shouldn't be more than 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And it did look amazing, and it smelled amazing. And I put it down in front of the lads. Both immediately insisted that they wanted no actor part in the consumption of this dinner. Okay? Plus, I should add, I made such a mess making it again. I won't do that next time. The washing up was huge job, which I'd also done prior to serving the meal. And main ingredients were chicken, bread, and spaghetti.
Oh, yeah.
All of which they eat copious amounts of.
Yeah.
It just all happened to be in the same dish. And I just said, okay, do you know what, lads? It was about 5:30 in the evening. This is not my problem. I have made this dinner because I love you and I want you to grow big and strong. And it will really be good for you if you eat this. There's a lot of good stuff in this dinner. Plus, it contains a lot of ingredients you guys eat every day. But it isn't really my problem. I'm going to go to bed with a full stomach and I'm going to sleep well. If you go to bed hungry, it is not my problem. But there will literally be nothing else on offer between now and bedtime. So I'm going to leave this with the two of you and you can take it from there. They both ate every scrap of their dinner.
Right. Okay, well, let's try that. But ours just don't eat it, and then around 7:30, 8, or I'm hungry.
Crackers.
I'm hungry.
So do you not offer them the evening's dinner again?
Oh, well, we've cleaned up by then, and it would have been congealed. And maybe that's the right thing to do.
That's what we do. If one of them only wants to eat half his dinner, I say that's no problem. But I know at around 7:30 you're going to tell me you're hungry, and this is what I will be serving you at 7:30. It won't be biscuits or brioches or cereal bars. This is what you'll be offered at 7:30. So it's up to you. Now, on the other hand, if you eat all of this now and you tell me you're hungry at 7:30, you'll get something different. That seems to work as well.
This is these are good ideas. I might steal them.
The options one is always definitely a good one. Like Dave said there, that's fine if you don't want to eat it, and then insert whatever you want after that. Like I did slightly different context the other night. The elder lad hit his sister, which he seems to be in the habit of doing. The jealousy is ramped up at the minute. And like internally, I wanted to like shake him and go, "What are you doing? Stop hitting your sister!" And but I managed to check myself and sat him down and went, "Okay, what just happened there?" And he went, "Oh, I hit Annie." And I was like, "Yeah. Oh, why did you do that?" I don't know. Well, like, why? Because you did it. So, like, why did you do it? And sort of teased it out of him a little bit, and then went, "So, what should we do now then?" And I could see him going, "Oh, this is normally the point where you tell me that I'm in the shit and shit's going down." And he went, "Oh, I'll say sorry and give her a kiss." And I was like, "Well, you will. That's certainly a good first protocol, because what he's in the habit of doing is hitting her and then going, 'Oh, I'll just apologize to her now.'" No, there's to be something else. So I said to him, "Yeah, look, that's good, but like, what? There'll have to be something else. So what else will we do?" Well, I go upstairs to my room. I was like, "That's a pretty good idea. You give her a hug and a kiss and go on up to your room." And so I did that, and he went up. And I don't know, is this bad parenting? Sent him off up to his room, and he cried for a while. And I sort of let him at that, because I mean, my thing at the time was that I wanted him to understand that he had done something that he shouldn't have done, and it wasn't okay to just do it and then apologize and get on with life. So he went and cried, and I don't know, in the grander scheme of things, had it any impact whatsoever. But it felt empowered. I felt empowered by the fact that he was the one making the decisions about what the punishment should be. Now he's 3.5, 3 3/4. Maybe that disappears when he's 5 or whatever. He's just too smart to engage in that kind of process.
Well, what it might start happening at 5, and I mentioned this before, is that you enter the Roy Keane X-rated tackle red card territory, where he'll whack his sister and then just won't wait for the referee to show the red card. He just turns around. He's already halfway down the tunnel by the time the referee's got his cards out of his pocket. And in the last few months, there have been plenty of occasions in our house where that has happened. The blow has been dealt, and he's already halfway up the stairs before I can even say, "Go to your room."
Very good, very good.
The self-discipline, that's great. Although obviously at some point it'll be like, yeah, I should really, go and spend some time in my room with my books and all my toys.
Yeah, exactly. It's no longer a deterrent. It's very difficult to know what the deterrent is nowadays, but
no screen time.
Yeah.
We have our issue with dinner the last couple of nights. I wasn't here because I was working late Monday, Tuesday, was it? And both nights the eldest lad wasn't there for dinner. So one night there was no sign of him. There was no sign of either child the first night. 6 o'clock for dinner, and eventually it turned out they were down the road in the back garden of somebody's house. Hadn't bothered telling anybody they were going.
Right.
And it'd be gone for about half an hour. Claimed they'd forgotten their Fitbits or something and didn't know what time it was. So you're kind of like, all right. And then the next night, I think he came in and was told dinner's going to be ready in 10 minutes. And he said, well, I'm going down to my friend's house. And I was told, well, you're not, because you can go down after dinner. And he said, no, everyone else is going down now, so I'm going down now. And off he went.
Ooh. So what happened? How did that play out?
So, well, I wasn't here. So I'm sure my wife has always dealt with this in a very calm manner, and got a book.
And whacked him over the head with it?
Which is what I would have done.
Right, so I don't know what happened there. We've lost some of the greatest Dadcast material that we've ever had. This is part 2 of Dadcast. The Misadventures of Parenting, brought to you by Cadbury Freddo Treasures. Discover the new Freddo Treasures. Space series with Cadbury Dairy Milk buttons and one surprise toy in every chest. And email in, dadcast@offtheball.com. Birthday parties in the house during these COVID times. Thoughts? Some of my kids are already getting invites from school friends. I know they are more or less mixing at school, but surely not a priority right now to bring people into your home. It's our eldest's birthday next week, and we were like, well, could they have a few people around for like pizza and a movie, or what? Like, what the hell do we do? Because like, this is going to be another thing that they haven't been able to do, and there's been no celebration of, and no sense of. I actually don't know what to do. We haven't a clue.
Well, if there's anything you can possibly do outdoors, do that. But obviously now that we're getting into autumn and the chances of you getting a dry day are becoming increasingly slim. We had a joint birthday party with his cousin a couple of weeks ago, but it was like you can invite 5 friends each, and we're staying on the AstroTurf for the duration. We ordered pizza. They ran around, played football for an hour. Parents picked them up. That was it. I think that's pretty much the limit to what you can do. I wouldn't be bringing 5 or 6 or 10 kids into the house now. Just not a good look at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah. If they're in the same class together, like if the parents aren't coming into the house, is there any real difference?
I don't know.
I suppose technically in their class they're meant to stay.
Well, I suppose you're not breaking any
seat.
restrictions. You're not breaking any restrictions to being in class together. Where you bring 8 kids into your house, you're breaking all forms of restrictions there, aren't you?
Are you?
Isn't there
I thought
like
it was just over 12s or something.
What?
Is it?
In terms of how many different maybe that's in the UK.
So you can
So
have
there's
6.
definitely the one in the UK that was brought in last night, where you can't have more than 6 people, doesn't include children.
Or education places are completely exempt, so you can do what you want in the universities, and sure, it looks like they might be doing what they want.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, Jer. It's and like I said, it's going to get harder as we get towards winter.
We could probably bring 5 people to the cinema or something. Maybe that's the
Socially distanced seating.
Yeah. At least they'll have, and they can bring their own drinks and snacks.
Save you a fortune.
Cinema's not cheap, but it would definitely be cheaper than, and also then you don't have people coming to your house.
Well, you don't want that anyways.
No, I mean, I definitely don't want that. Well, we were at a party. Somebody in school had thrown a party in their house, and it was actually class. It was as rambunctious and crack as you remember your own birthday parties as kids, and it was a really nice thing. Like, unfortunately, I had to drive, but there was wine. I was like, this could actually be amazing. This is like
in somebody else's house though. Like, yeah,
You know what I mean?
my kids have been to parties and like, yeah, again, they've been brilliant. I'm like, Jesus, how are you doing this though? Like, how are you standing here talking to me and not about to kill somebody? Are you not running around going, "Dah, dah, dah, dah," which would be me.
Yeah, I think you just have to accept that it's going to be a riot.
Carnage.
Not everybody's as highly strung as we are.
We're definitely pretty highly strung, it turns out.
Like my mate. Like my mate there, who if I find who it is definitely coming on, and it's going to be just a roast of us destroying him.
Let's not give that person any more of a platform. Seriously, like. Honestly, like I don't actually know what that person, how they have managed to identify that they absolutely are so obnoxious, and yet indulge themselves in being. That's the most obnoxious certainly the most obnoxious email we've ever had. Like some of the most obnoxious commentary I've ever heard.
Oof.
And we would encourage any listener to get in touch. Dadcast at offtheball.com.
The more obnoxious, the better.
And we will be nice to you, and we will not hunt you down and try and bring you on the show. Right, anybody else, anything they want to get off their chest or plant a seed for next week? Are you moving house, Dave?
Not yet.
Right.
Long way to go for any of you guys and any of our listeners who have gone through the whole moving process when there are two sides to the deal. It's going to be long. It's going to be like, I doubt the October, or what is supposedly the summer transfer window, will have shut, and we still will not have moved house. So,
right.
Fingers crossed it all goes smoothly.
You might be in by Christmas.
I would definitely hope we're in by Christmas, but these things can often take a lot longer. Everybody's doing their best though, so let's just see how it goes.
Right. Anybody anything else?
That's all from me.
No, I've just done a full hour of leaving my 2-year-old out in the other room.
To watch
any obnoxious listeners will have a major issue with that.
Mr. Potato Head.
Anybody who backs up what our pal was saying to us, anyone who's got an issue with what our pal was saying to us, do let us know. Just fire even a 2-liner with a question to Off the Ball at Dadcast. What is it? Dadcast at offtheball.com?
Yeah.
And
Off the Ball at Dadcast.com is all new. This is a...
But look, there's definitely an element of truth in the email. There are kernels of truth within it, and often the criticism that is on point is what hurts the most.
Oof.
So that is why maybe
Touched a nerve.
Yeah, exactly. So we probably need to, maybe we should all have a quiet private read of that email, and next week we can acknowledge, maybe each take a segment of it where we acknowledge, yes, I am guilty of poor parenting in this regard.
Right. On that note, see you next week, folks.
Did the person say they had kids in school?
I don't know. Look.
Nathan, you need to print it out and get a highlighter and go sift through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Go through my phone.
Exactly.
Multiple kids, though. Definitely multiple kids.
Oh, multiple kids. All right, then it's not the person I was thinking of.
It sounded like multiple kids at breakfast time. Making
That's your job for
if
the
you've got
week.
one kid, you have nothing to complain about.
No. On that note, another Dadcast is in the books. See you next week, folks.
Dadcast, Misadventures in Parenting, brought to you by Cadbury Freddo Treasures. Discover the new Freddo Treasure Space Series with Cadbury Dairy Milk buttons and one surprise toy in every chest.